The story starts with our hero whose name is Kaizaki Arita, a 27-year-old unemployed man who is trying hard to get a job by going to job interviewees and being rejected, and lying to friends that he has been busy and bored from works. When he was going back to the party, he gets a call from his mom who asks about his interview. He replies that he didn't get it. After this, his mom tells him that they are going to cut his allowance off from next month. He is shocked after listening to this. When the phone is cut, saddened, he starts walking when he sees someone who is waiting there smiling and tells him that he is waiting for him. Hearing this, our Kaizaki is confused, but then he starts to spill all his information out with subtle insults, which shocks the Kaizaki, and asks his identity, to which the man replies, his name is Ryo Yoke and he works for the Relive laboratory. Since Hiro had a long day, he cuts to the chase and tells him that he has been selected as a test subject for the Relive project and explains that the experiment will last for 1 year. During this time they will pay for 100% of his living expenses, and if it goes good then they will also provide him a job at the end. Kaizaki is happy hearing this but tries to hide his happiness, and asks about the experiment. Ryo smiles at him and pulls out a pill from his pocket. We cut to the next scene. It's morning time, and Kaizaki is waking up. He goes to his bathroom and washes his face when he notices that his face looks young. Then suddenly he remembers yesterday's conversation, where he was told that by taking the pill he will look like he is in high school again, and he is to start his high school again. He is regretting his decision when his doorbell rings. Simultaneously with his phone, picking up the phone, he checks through the peephole and sees Ryo outside. Ryo comes inside his room and tells him about the high school he is going to attend. Kaizaki is hesitant about this. When Ryo asks him if he will relive his high school and make his life better, go back to being the loser he was before, and passes him the contract. Nothing left to lose, Kaizaki signs the contract, stamps it, and they shake on it. Next he reaches the high school and is standing there regretting his life choices. Turns out he is starting in year 3. He nervously runs in the back of the classroom to be a backbencher. He smiled with happiness after getting the backbench when a girl approaches him and tells him that it's her seat, and points out that their roll no has been assigned with the bench and it's written on the chalkboard. Embarrassed, he walks toward his set. Reaching his seat, he hears a familiar name being called. He turns back and sees Ryo there. Ryo smiles at him and just sits down. Kaizaki is shocked but couldn't talk to him as the teacher walked in. The teacher asks them to introduce themselves, and he starts judging the students as Chizuru Ishiro, the good little scholar type; Rina Kiryu, with the cough, rasping Rina; Kazuomi Oga, super friendly, chummy Kazuomi; and Onoya, who is also a transfer student like him. HW also finds out that Ryo was here last year too, and he starts questioning himself whether Ryo is an actual high schooler and not a test subject like him. And did he just took a drug pill from a high schooler? After the introduction, the teacher announces the class test. Hearing this, he screams in shock, and turns to Ryo, who didn't tell him about this. He tries to calm down by telling himself that this is just some school test, and searches his bag and finds that he forgot his pencil. Devastated, he is sitting there when the teacher approaches him and asks him what's the matter, and why did he not put his bag away. Suspicious about his behavior, the teacher searches his bag, and finds a packet of cigarette. Teacher asks him what is this. Forgetting that he is a student now, he answers, cigarette, so what? Hearing this, the teacher is furious. He is confused with this situation and looks around. When he finally realized the situation, panicked, he screams couple of excuses. Watching this, Ryo is laughing quietly from the distance. Teacher tells Kaizaki to meet her after school. Next the test starts, and Kaizaki remembers once again that he forgot his pencils, and he is scared to ask the teacher for help as she will be more furious, when Rina passes him a pencil and a rubber. After the test ends, he thanks Rina for lending him the pencil. She tells him to use them for the rest of the school and coughs. Seeing this, Kaizaki says she should have been at home, and then Oga tells him that she is, and today's test score will decide who will be the class rep, and she has been used to be the top student, but this year their class have Chizuru, who has the best score in their whole grade, and Rina wants to defeat her and take the crown. After class he is tired and wants to drink beer, when the teacher grabs him from behind and reminds him of their appointment. In the staff room, the teacher starts to scold him. After being scolded, he starts to walk home when he meets Ryo. he asks Rio which one is the real him, the high school student or the adult, to which he replies that the adult is the real him, and it's their policy that the handler must turn back the clock as well to observe their behavior and also support their test subjects. Then they chatted their way home. The next day the test results are back. Oga and Chizuru are the class reps, and our hero failed them all, but then he turns right and sees angry Rina. After watching her and Oga talk he realizes that Rina likes Oga. Then the teacher announces that if anyone filed any test then they have to take a makeup exam and keep taking it until they get 50 marks. Hearing this Kiyosaki is shaken. Looking at his state, Oga offers to tutor him. Hearing this, Onoya also asks for the help. Turns out she also failed all the tests. Hearing this, our hero is happy. After the class, Onoya and Oga decides to eat lunch with him. In the cafeteria, Onoya asks Oga if he and Rina are dating, to which he replies no. Disappointed, she asks what's with the matching earring. He replies that last year he pierced his ear but had the pain was too much after one ear, and he had an extra earring and gave it to Rina, and it's just a friend thing. Both of them are disappointed with him and starts to diss him for being dense. Then they see Chizuru talking and bowing to the cook, and Kiyosaki goes to check. He asks her what happens, and she calls high the 4 and the cigarette, and tells him that she didn't bring any money today because she is used to not needing any, because she used her silver pin, which is used by class reps to get free food, but she didn't pick it today. Hearing this, he lends her money, but she rejects the offer as it was too much, but he forces her to take the money, and she thanks him sincerely and walks away. Seeing this, he blushes and has a high heartbeat. He tries to calm himself, saying that she is a high school girl. Hater that he comes back to his table, and they start to chat again. Then Onoya pulls out her phone and our hero is shocked to see the phone in school, and she tells him that it's fine as long as they put them in silent mode in the class. Seeing this, he questions himself. What about the confiscation and scoldings that happened in his days? And they exchange their numbers. Meanwhile, Oga is observing him from distant. Later he is submitting an apology letter to the teacher's room when he meets Chizuru, who calls him the money lender, the number 4, and the cigarette. He asks her to call him by his name, and she tells that he never told her his name, and he tells her his name. He asks her whether he makes her nervous because she talks to high like she is reading a book report. She replies that she just talks this way, and does this makes her approachable? HR replies yes, but she is interesting and it's worth the trouble to know her better, and she should smile more. She attempts to smile but scares him. Then the bell rings and tries to go back home, but Chizuru stops him and asks for his phone number and tells him that she wants to be his friend and don't want to lonely anymore. He replies that this is good and no one would reject an offer like this and touches her head. She smacks his hand and calls him an idiot. Kiyosaki pleases her to stop calling him an idiot, and she smiles genuinely. While all this was happening, Oga Rio was in the corner again observing him. Later at home, he is studying for his tests. Tired, he tries to smoke when he remembers his teacher's words and stops. He calls Rio to ask about the cigarette. Oga replies and says he is free to do what he wants with the cigarette, but it will be hard for him to get it now that he looks like a high school kid. He also teases him for making Chizuru smile, but also they should n equals be nothing more than a friend, as after the experiment all of them will forget who he is, but he will remember them. And if he ever tells anyone this, he will wipe his memories and kick him out of the experiment. Later, he receives a text from Chizuru, thanking him for the help today, and promises to return the money tomorrow, followed by a cat emoji. He replies no problem, and the cat looks like her. She replies back meow, which tingles him, and he decides to quit for good. That was it for part 1 of Relive. If you guys want more, then please comments and like. Thank you.